The Black Death was an interesting uh, thing, or disease, or plague, or whatever. So, the Black Death is more the event. The Black Plague or the bubonic plague was one of the types of diseases going around during this time of the Black Death. So look what it says here. The Black Death was not a single disease, but three, and the source of all three was a flea. A bacillus in the blood blocks the flea's stomach as the flea rams its probe through the skin of its host, preferably the black rat. The bacillus erupts from the flea's stomach and enters the host, introducing the infection. As the rats died off, the fleas took to other animals and to humans. In one form, the bacilli settle in the lymph glands. Large swellings and carbuncles, called buboes, appear in the groin and armpits, which give this form of the disease the name bubonic plague. Yes, the Black Plague or the bubonic plague. The term Black Death comes from the fact that the victim's body is covered with black spots and his tongue turns black. Death usually comes within 3 days. In another form, septicemic, the blood is infected and death may take a week or more. The fastest death comes from the most infectious form, the pneumonic, which causes an inflammation of the throat and lungs, spitting and vomiting of blood, a foul stench, and intense pain. So just reading this, you can tell this was a scary, scary time, and a very scary diseases were going around. And the reason why I'm reading to you this part is just so I can show you the reactions of people and how people thought because of all this that was happening in that time. It's actually kind of funny. It's funny, but not in a way, because I mean, they were going through a lot of things which caused them to have all these erroneous views of God, which is very interesting and funny. Now looking back, obviously it wouldn't have been funny back then if we were there, but look at what it says here. No scientific identification was made of the plague diseases at the time, nor was anything known of the method of transmission. This permitted all manner of wild theories to be promulgated, of which the most common was that the Black Death was a punishment from God. Some even cursed God for the great calamity, and Philip VI of France took steps to prevent God from getting any angrier than he apparently already was. Special laws were passed against blasphemy with very specific punishments. For the first offense, the lower lip of the blasphemer would be sliced off. For the second offense, the upper lip would go, and for the third offense, the offender's tongue would be cut out. That's crazy. But let's keep reading. Groups of penitents sprang up, publicly doing penance for sins that they could not specifically identify, but that were obviously serious enough to anger God to the point of destroying the human race. Only the most severe penance would do to expiate such horrible sin. Self-flagellation turned into group flagellation, as penitents walked the streets, often led by a priest, and beat one another with knotted ropes and whips tipped with metal to lacerate their flesh. Some carried heavy crosses or wore crowns of thorns. Wow. This is how some people dealt with the Black Plague, dude. And this is a contrasting way. It says, others found their own answers in uninhibited rites and sexual orgies. Some acted on the theory that since the world was ending shortly, every possible pleasure should be indulged. Others believed an appeal to Satan was the only alternative now that they had been abandoned by God. It's funny, man, but that still happens today in some ways, And look at this too, this still happens today also. As always, in the Middle Ages, some communities put the blame on the only non-Christians in their midst, the Jews. Even though the Jews were dying from the Black Death themselves, they were accused of poisoning wells and causing the plague with secret rites and incantations intended to wipe out Christianity. Whew. Yeah, there's a lot about the Jews here, and yes, people were going nuts. But I want to show you this part here, which I found hilarious actually. It says, it has been estimated that the population of England when the plague first crossed the Channel was 4 million. By the time it subsided, the population had been reduced to less than 2.5 million. So basically, 1.5 million people died in England. But that's not what's hilarious, it's this. Look at this. News of the ravages of the plague in England reached the Scots, who concluded that this decimation of their ancient enemy could have come from no source other than an avenging God. They decided to assist the Almighty in his divine plan and attack the English in their weakened state. The call went out for the clans to gather at Selkirk Forest, but before they could begin their march south, the plague struck the camp, killing an estimated 5,000 Scots in a few days' time. There was nothing to do but abandon the invasion plan, so the still healthy, with the sick and dying, broke camp to return to their homes. Word of the gathering had reached the English, who moved north to intercept the invasion. They arrived in time to intercept and slaughter the dispersed Scottish army. Incredibly, while the greatest death toll the world had ever known was in progress, the war between England and France kept right on going, each weakened side hoping that the other side was even weaker. Wow, man, this is so ironic. The Scottish people thought that the people in England were being killed by God, and they decided to, quote unquote, assist God in killing more of them. And then when they went for it, it happened that they were the ones who got killed. That's pretty ironic, But yeah, I just wanted to show you this ironic, funny stuff.